What are we gonna talk about today?
Love and...
Relating?
We're gonna say a whole lot of stuff about our relationship.
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 iconic celebrity couples of the 90s.
This isn't working out for me anymore.
Yeah, me neither.
For this list, we'll be going back to the 1990s and the star pairings that were making headlines back before Instagram and iPhones. Which couples were your biggest obsession back in the day? Let us know in the comments below. Number 10. Tim McGraw and Faith Hill.
Just let go. I wanna feel you in my soul.
These two first met in Nashville in 1994 when they were both fresh faces on the country music scene. They met at a country music radio seminar, and while they got along, Hill was recently divorced and McGraw was in a relationship. Cut to a couple of years later in 1996 when Hill opened for McGraw on his Spontaneous Combustion tour. Now McGraw is single, but Hill is engaged.
I was noticing her watching the show off the side of the stage because...
You were?
Of course I was. I just noticed her watching the show, so I started doing the slide and I felt someone behind me and I turned around and she was behind me doing the slide with us.
This time the chemistry between the two future country music superstars was undeniable, and Faith broke off her engagement. The couple married in October of 1996, and in 1997 they had their first child and their first chart-topping single together, It's Your Love, and they would go on to have more of each.
And if you wonder about the spell I'm under, oh, it's your love.
Number 9. Hugh Grant and Elizabeth Hurley. These two lovebirds met in 1987 and dated all through the 90s. Hurley was one of the most beautiful women in the world, and as many of us remember, Grant became a rom-com king after his breakout role in 4 Weddings and a Funeral in 1994.
You might agree not to marry me. And do you think not being married to me might maybe be something you could consider doing for the rest of your life?
However, many of us also remember the 1995 scandal when Hugh was arrested with a sex worker. This very easily could have been the scandal to end his career and his relationship. However, his apology tour, which included a now famous appearance on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, worked on the fans, and his apologies at home must have worked on Hurley.
I think you know in life pretty much what's a good thing to do and what's a bad thing, and I did a bad thing, and there you have it.
The couple remained together until 2000, and even 20 years later are the best of friends.
We're like brother and sister.
You still talk every day?
Well, I wouldn't say every day, but we send each other silly messages.
Number 8. Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith.
When I saw you on Different World, it was that thing. And I don't know what it is, that the bell rings, and I knew that there was something in our energy that would be magic.
Will first met Jada when she came into an audition to play his girlfriend on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
So Alfonso knew you. I was like, yo, dude, I saw this girl.
She didn't get the role on the show, but she would get the role in real life a few years later. The couple married in 1997 and have been very open about the ups and downs of their relationship, even going so far as to sit down and talk it out in front of the camera in 2020.
It's the idea of any relationship and trying to get to deeper understanding of love is going to be forged in fire.
Yeah.
There's no way around it.
But while it might not all be smooth like the summertime, these two found the groove that soothes and moves romance back in the 90s and kept it going for over 20 years. Number 7. David and Victoria Beckham. While most couples on this list didn't see their 90s relationships continue into the 2000s, even fewer made it to 2020 and beyond with the same partner.
If you wanna be my lover, you gotta make it last forever.
One of the couples that did is none other than David and Victoria Beckham. And it all started in 1997 in the Manchester United Players' Lounge. It's where the uber-famous Spice Girl and the football-bending superstar first laid eyes on each other.
Beckham, was you into the Spice Girls beforehand?
No, but I was into Posh.
And, at least for posh spies, it was love at first sight. She told British Vogue, "Love at first sight does exist. It will happen to you in the Manchester United Players' Lounge, although you will get a little drunk, so exact details are hazy."
Was it love at first sight or lust at first sight?
Wait for it.
A little of both?
Bit of both, yeah.
Looks like she got what she really wanted. Number 6. Brad Pitt and Gwyneth Paltrow. Brad and Gwyneth played a couple in the 1995 film Seven, and behind the scenes, they became a couple IRL as well.
Did you get it? Got it.
In fact, when Pitt won the Golden Globe for his performance in the film 12 Monkeys, he called Paltrow his angel, the love of his life, and by the end of 1996, they were engaged.
I think congratulations.
Thank
That's
you so
wonderful.
Much. Thank you.
That's one of the greatest moments of my life.
But by June 1997, they were done, and not too long after that, Paltrow would meet her next paramour on the set of Shakespeare in Love.
What is the play and what is my part?
One moment, sir.
Who are you?
Of course, we're talking about Ben Affleck, whom she dated on and off until 2000. Number 5. Cindy Crawford and Richard Gere. What happens when one of Hollywood's biggest stars and one of the world's most beautiful fashion models get together? You get one of the 90s most iconic couples, of course. And that's truly what Crawford and Gere were. From their first meeting in 1988, to their spur-of-the-moment Vegas wedding in 1991, to their divorce 4 years later. And while they were both famous when they met, their celebrity status just kept rising during their time together. Gere's role in Pretty Woman had people everywhere climbing fire escapes to declare their love, and Crawford made Pepsi the sexiest soda around.
Is that a great new Pepsi can or what?
In the end, though, the 17-year age difference was too much to overcome, and both parties moved on separately.
He knew that I was still growing and changing. I didn't want to hear it from him because at 22 you think you know everything and you think you're already formed. And then you realize 10 years later you're like, oh my gosh, they were totally right.
Number 4. Kurt Cobain and Courtney Love. Cobain and Love's relationship was as iconic back in the early 90s when it happened, as it remains to this day.
I mean, it came like a Mack truck. First it was magical. It was so weird. It was surreal and magic in the air.
Love was one of the biggest female stars in the alternative music scene, and after the release of Nevermind in 1991, Cobain would forever be a grunge god. There are varying accounts of how and when they first met, and the story surrounding Cobain's death has been drenched in controversy and conspiracy for decades.
What part did she have in his end game kind of thing? And the more we got into it, the more interesting it became and the more convoluted it became.
But for a brief few years in the first part of the last decade of the 20th century, this relationship was alternative royalty. Number 3. Michael Jackson and Lisa Marie Presley. Yes, in case you have been living under a rock for a few decades, it's true. Michael Jackson and Lisa Marie Presley dated and were married back in the 90s.
And just think, nobody thought this would last.
The two were just friends when the 90s began, but when Jackson was neck deep in controversy in 1993, Lisa was who he looked to for support. That same year, he proposed to her over the phone, and they were married in January of '94.
He's amazing. I really admire him. I respect him. I admire him. I'm in love with him. And no, we don't sleep in separate bedrooms. Thank you very much. And, I love everything about him.
But by the end of the following year, divorce papers had been filed. It seems quick, but it's longer than many thought it would last, including the judge that married them, who said, "I gave them a year." They lasted a year and a half.
Someone tell me why did you have to go?
Number 2. Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise. Prior to meeting Tom Cruise, Kidman had been in 3 serious relationships but had decided that she was never going to get married. Then, a 21-year-old Kidman met Cruise while making Days of Thunder together, and her plans changed.
Boy, you're very quick.
Gotta see me drive.
The pair were married in 1990 and spent the entire decade together, including over a year making Stanley Kubrick's last film, Eyes Wide Shut.
Forever.
Forever.
Let's not use that word.
While the marriage made it through the 90s, the 2000s wasn't meant to be, and by February of 2001, divorce papers were being filed. And for everyone who saw Kidman's infidelity speech in Eyes Wide Shut as a reflection of the state of the couple's marriage at the time, she says, "I definitely didn't see it like that."
We made plans about our future. And we talked about Helena. And yet...
Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few honourable mentions. Jennifer Lopez and Sean Combs. They started dating in 1999 and announced their breakup on Valentine's Day 2001. Claudia Schiffer and David Copperfield. Nope, it wasn't an illusion. Schiffer and Copperfield were engaged from 1994 to 1999. Whitney Houston and Bobby Brown. It wasn't without controversy, but they were married from 1992 until 2007. Reese Witherspoon and Ryan Phillippe. The Cruel Intentions co-stars were married in 1999 and separated in 2006. Kate Moss and Johnny Depp. The iconic model and the acting icon dated from 94 to 98.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1. Justin Timberlake and Britney Spears. While these two former Mouseketeers confirmed they were dating in 1999, reports have them together starting in 1998. Either way, they meet the criteria for this list, and in so doing find themselves right at the top of it.
We hadn't really had a kind of, American couple in a minute.
He said I love you to you when you...
He did, I know, I saw. And when they got together, I think a lot of people thought it was just totally perfect.
These two were on top of many people's lists back then. But although couples that dress in denim together usually stay together, for Justin and Britney, it wasn't meant to be, and they broke up in 2002.
I think we're both really young, and it was kind of waiting to happen. And I will always love him. He'll always have a special place in my heart.
And for the one or two people who forgot these two dated back then, they were reminded of it years later with the release of the 2021 Spears documentary and the controversy surrounding how JT treated her post-breakup.
He essentially weaponizes the video for one of his singles to incriminate her in the demise of the relationship.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MsMojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.